Hello, everyone. Welcome again to FLED Community Governance and Leadership Induction Program offered to you by FLED International Leadership Institute. In the first session, we discussed the framework, discussed the leadership participants, what you're supposed to know, questions you're supposed to ask yourself about your role as a leader, your leadership principles, and all of that. In this session, we are going to ask a question. What should development mean in community leadership? What should development mean in community leadership? There are 9 questions or 9 areas of focus leaders of community association must pay attention to. Now, as community development leaders, you should think in terms of 9 key areas. And the key areas are: number one, think in terms of human development, not just physical project. And thinking in terms of human development or human welfare, you should ask yourself questions such as: are people safer? In other words, are our people or your people, are they safer? In other words, think in terms of security. Are your young people progressing? In other words, think about the progress and welfare of your young people. The 3 questions you need to ask is: are the vulnerable members of your society supported? The elderly, the aged, those who are physically challenged, are they being supported to become part of the community and live responsibly? Are disputes being reduced? In every community there are disputes. Are you working to reduce those disputes? Because where there is peace, development follows. Is the community becoming more united? Are you working to ensure that the community is becoming more united? In other words, you think in terms of human well-being. These are the questions you ask in the area of human well-being. So a community with beautiful buildings, but with broken trust or broken social trust, is not developing at all. When you go to a community, they have beautiful houses, they have all kinds of things, but there's no trust in that community. That community is not developing. No matter the type of houses they are building, that community is not developing. Number 2 area that community leaders should think in terms of are institutional strength. Institutional strength, that's number 2. In this area, there are questions, there are things you need to be thinking about. How many, of course, we said that many communities collapse into conflict because institutions are weak. The institutions of the community, they are weak. Therefore, those communities enter into conflict and they collapse. So development should therefore include strong governance systems, documentation culture, in other words, documenting deliberations, documenting agreements, documenting decisions, documenting processes. Documentation culture is very important. And then transparent finances. We talked about that in the first session. Transparent finances, stable leadership transition. One of the reasons why community associations fail is when each time there's going to be a change of leadership, there's crisis because the processes are not clearly established. How to move leadership from one another, in other words, change leadership. There's a tenure of leadership is 3 years or 4 years or 5 years. Once the tenure has finished, if there's no clear process of transition, the society will get into trouble. You know what I'm talking about. It happens everywhere in our communities, whether it is a change of the traditional ruler selection, whether it is community development association selection, PG, whatever it is, there's always a problem in transitioning from one leadership to another. Also, you need to talk about functional committees. Every association should have committees dealing with different kinds of things, and people will be appointed in those committees, and those people who are in those committees must be held accountable for what they do and how they do what they do. Of course, we talk about communication systems. Let there be established communication systems, either through WhatsApp or email or whatever. There must be a communication system that's functional, that serves the interest of the people and is peculiar to the people depending on. In the olden days, they used to have communication system that serves them, but now we also have communication system that serves us in our own generation. So we are saying that strong institutions sustain development across generations. When institutions are strong and stable, they make sure that development move from one generation to another. But when institutions are weak, it creates weakness in the community, and that community will continue to suffer and to struggle. The third area that community development leaders should think about is economic empowerment. Economic empowerment. We know we have used the word empowerment, we have bastardized the word empowerment. These days, empowerment has to do with giving people bicycles, giving them cars, giving them spoons, giving them shovels, giving them. That is not empowerment. Because until somebody's mind is clearly clarified, so to speak, whatever you give to the person, you can only use it for 1 year, 2 years, three. Before you know it, it comes back to square one. So economic empowerment is important, but we need to contextualize it, put it in perspective. In many African communities, unemployment and poverty are central realities. Everybody knows it. Unemployment are central realities. Community leaders should pay attention to youth employment. Youth employment, you must pay attention to it. You must pay attention to cooperative initiatives. Many of our communities don't have cooperative initiatives. And then skills acquisition. Think about skills acquisition. Skills are what sells. Skills, we can use skills for tomorrow, whether they are plumbing, whether they are mechanic, every community has problems to be solved. We need to train people in skills in those areas to deliver effectively. So community leaders must think in terms of skills acquisition. Then, of course, local enterprise support. Enterprise is more than owning a business. Enterprise is about mindset, adding value. And of course, you must think in terms of market access. Market access means the produce in that community. How are they able to bring it to the market where people can sell it and exchange? Market is what makes exchange, economic exchanges possible. So community development association must think in terms of market access for their people, for the farmer, for skills people, whatever thing you produce, or the skills you have, you bring it to the marketplace. Those who need it, you serve them, you exchange finances for it. Of course, community saving culture. Communities need to know how to save, not just putting your money in the bank. Putting your money in the bank is giving bankers money to do their business, but you must learn how to do community savings, especially cooperative societies, so that you can use your money to service your members and then not just go and say, I'm putting my money in the bank. Okay. So also you must think in terms of diaspora investment coordination. How do you coordinate diaspora investment? If the diaspora members of your community want to bring money, how do they do it? What structures do they see? What structures? Because some of them live in a more organized society, some organized, structured environment. What should convince them to bring money to support what you do in the community? If they don't see structures, they will not invest. So development is also economic survival and opportunity creation. So you must think in terms of economic empowerment. Okay. Remember, in this, we didn't say you must give young people bicycle, you must give them cars, you must buy them sewing machine. Those things are not actually economic empowerment. You're giving them tools, but have you trained their mind how to use those tools? Have you trained them how to generate businesses and how to use those businesses to create value? So when you give people a bicycle, you're giving them something, yes, but have you trained them how to use it? Have you shaped their mindset on how to use that thing to serve the community, add value, and make income? So that is it. Okay, so the number 4 thing community leaders must think about is education and leadership formation. Education and leadership formation. What are we talking about in that? We're saying a community that neglects its young people is weakening its future. A community that neglects its young people is weakening its future. So community development should include scholarships, mentoring systems, academic encouragement, leadership training, civic orientation, moral and cultural education. Moral and cultural education. Sometimes things are done haphazardly. If there are systems that promote scholarships, there are systems that promote mentoring, there are systems that encourage academic pursuit. There are systems that do leadership training for young people. Very important. Civic orientation, telling them their responsibilities and obligations. They are not just the one to teach them in school, but the one the community itself teaches their young people. Okay. Then moral and cultural education. Every community must teach its own people its moral and culture. What is important? What are the taboos? Every community has taboos. There are taboos in every community. What are the things that our community does not approve of? And explain to them why it is not approved. So cultural and moral education is very important. Some of these things that will not be taught them in school because the school uses conventional curriculum, but the community must also learn how to teach its own people its own peculiar culture and taboos and practices that has sustained that community in the years gone by. If those things are not taught, the next generation will forget them, and that's why most of our communities today are getting terribly bad. So the future quality of leadership is often depends on what communities intentionally cultivate. What you cultivate is what lasts for you. If you don't cultivate these things, they will not last for you. One generation will not be able to pass it on to the next generation. So pay attention to education and leadership formation, particularly for the young people or the next generation. The fifth area that community leaders should think about are infrastructure and public service. Infrastructure and public service. Now, this is the visible aspect most people recognize. Infrastructure. They build health center, they build school. So these are physical infrastructure most people talk about. But I have talked about four before this one. Four must go ahead of this one. Now, what does community leaders should pay attention to? Roads, water access, schools, electricity advocacy, health support, sanitation, community halls, and digital access. Roads, there are roads that you can build. Every community can maintain its road to a certain level before it invites the government. Then, of course, water access. How do you access water in your community? Do that. If you need to work in collaboration with the government, you do that. If the one that the community can provide for itself, you do that. Schools are dilapidating everywhere. What can your community do? Set up system that can make it possible for you to raise funds and then invite the government to join forces with electricity. Very important. Healthcare support. Sanitation, you need a clean environment to survive and to succeed, to make sure that sickness and disease are put away from your community. Make sure that you promote environmental sanitation. And community halls. Community halls are very important, so where the community can have, stay and meet and discuss community issues. We've got digital access. If you're able to set up digital access set up centers where young people can come and learn digital skills. So infrastructure should be approached strategically, not symbolically. Just let's do something so that people can see we have done something. You must do the development must be strategically organized. Don't just do something so that they can see this is what we did during our tenure. That's not what it is. Is it strategic? Is it problem oriented? Can it be sustained when you have left office? Number 6 area that you as community leader should think about is what I call social cohesion and peace building. Social cohesion and peace building. One major but neglected aspect of development is social stability. Social stability. What do you mean by social stability? Many communities are weakened by family disputes, political divisions, generational tensions, leadership rivalries, land conflict. Now, this is very important. I like to mention them again. I say many communities are weakened. A weak community can never develop. And these are the things that cause those communities to weaken. Number one, family disputes. When families are fighting each other, they can never agree. Political divisions. This era of politics, I belong to this party, I belong to this other party. You must look beyond political party affiliations and also separate political affiliations with community development. Also, generational tension that has arisen from many generations. This community has always been against this one. You must learn to overcome those things. So you don't transfer generational conflict, you resolve generational conflict. Then leadership rivalries, as we talked about before. This leader want to rival with this other one, maybe age grade. This age grade want to rival with this age grade. This association. So rivalries are things that make it difficult for communities to prosper. Land conflict, land dispute. When land disputes are not resolved with honesty and integrity, land cases are not resolved with integrity. They are resolved with unfairness. There's so much unfairness. There's so much dishonesty. There's so much lying and cheating. So a divided community struggles to sustain progress. A divided community, they struggle to sustain progress. So community leaders should actively cultivate dialogue, Encourage dialogue, inclusion. Let people hear people's voices. Don't exclude anybody by whatever reason. Mediation. You must encourage mediation. Get people who can go behind and discuss matters before. Encourage reconciliation. Unity building system. Establish unity building systems. System that can make it for people to be united. Okay? United doesn't mean that everybody must agree, but at least there must be a consensus. There must be a level of agreement to enable the community to move forward to make progress. Okay? So the number 7 thing the community leaders must think about is what we call community identity and cultural continuity. Community identity and cultural continuity. Development should not destroy identity. Don't say we are developing, destroy your identity. Every community has its own identity. You must know your identity and sustain your identity. This includes preserving your language, your history, your values, your traditions, your communal ethics, and intergenerational respect. When we hear the word traditions, we always think in terms of negative things. Traditions are things that will be done over and over that has enabled this community to make progress. But if there are things that have been done over and over that makes the community to go backward, you change it. Traditions are things that you've been done over and over that is supposed to advance the community. But if there are things that are being done and we discover that it is dragging the community backward, you change it. So you learn to be flexible. Don't say that has been the way it has been. The society is dynamic. Every society is dynamic. Things are changing. So if things are changing, you need to align yourself with the realities of the time without breaking ranks with your past completely, except your past has put you down. All right. So community leaders should think in terms of preserving your language. Any society that has no language has no future. We are run this training by English language because that's what they gave to us. But when you go to your community, use the language of your people to communicate with them and help them to understand. This course is for every community that needs to improve its capacity. So it's delivered in English language so that everybody can understand it and properly appreciate it. So modernization without identity, preservation produces social modernization without identity produces social fragmentation. Modernization without identity produces social fragmentation. If you say we are modernizing, you go and cut all the trees, you go and scatter things, and then you destroy your community. Don't just destroy things without preserving them, without providing alternatives. The next thing I'd like to talk about is what we call strategic relationship with government. Community leaders must not act as if they are government. No, you are part of government at the local level, the community level, but you must act in concert or find how to leverage with government to be able to move your community forward. So community unions should not replace government permanently. You are not to replace government or rub shoulder with government or to speak as if you are now the government that exists. No, you are not. But you should organize advocacy. Advocacy means going to speak on behalf of your community to the government, and when they see that you're properly organized and respected, the government will listen to you. You must mobilize evidence. If you say your community has this problem, let government see evidence. Government works with evidence. I must engage constructively. Engage government constructively with respect. Government officials need to be respected. Engage them with evidence. Engage them constructively. Engage them with respect. They will listen to you. If not now, tomorrow. So you need to attract partnerships. Seek partnerships. Every community needs partnership. Except you know how to seek for partnership, you will not get it. Partnership seeking is not about begging. It's about discussing opportunities. If we work with you in this, what do you stand to gain? Partnerships is what makes communities make progress and advance faster. So you negotiate development support. Development support. Flood Institute is providing this training for you right now. How much are you paying? So these are the things that work. Negotiate, go outside of your community, seek for people that can provide you support. And then in that support negotiation, okay, we'll offer you this in exchange for this, because there's no free lunch in this world. So you must offer something to get something, and you are benefiting, the other people are benefiting, everybody is happy. So you must also learn how to coordinate with local authorities, as we said before. coordinate with other local authorities, especially when it comes to security matters. Security these days is no longer isolated. It has become globalized, so to speak, even though in your community, because communities are now in network, communities are connected. So whatever is happening in your community might also be happening in the other community. So you network, you coordinate, you collaborate to deal with such issues. So we are saying that strong communities know how to organize themselves while still demanding public responsibility. While you're organizing yourself, you'll be able to know how to demand government intervention. You'll be able to know how to secure support from outside your community to deal with issues in your community. The number 9 thing that community leaders must pay attention to is what we call future readiness. Future readiness. What do we mean by future readiness? Now, many communities still think only in short-term cycles. Short-term cycles in terms of 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. But development leadership should think, the development leadership regime should think in terms of continuity. What will this particular community, what will this community look like in 20 years? Sometimes when you mention years, people think that years are far. No. Ask yourself, this community, what will it be like in the next 20 years? Are young people living permanently from this community? If young people are gradually leaving this community, why are they leaving? Why do people even leave? Okay, people have left that community in the next 30 years, but when they're getting old, they're coming back. Why are they coming back? It means where they went, they only just went there to make money, to earn a living. They still come back to that village. Now, why should people leave your village? Probably because there are no employment opportunities. There are no opportunity for them to improve. Can you begin to think about how to provide those things to reduce, not that people must not leave, but to reduce the immigration, so to speak, of young people from your community, because you need them for the liveliness of your community, the sustenance of your community, the development of your community. You need them. So you ask yourself, are they leaving the community permanently, or they leave so that they can return? Are you preparing future leaders? Are you deliberately preparing future leaders? Those who occupy different positions in your community, are you preparing them? Without preparing them, they will just emerge and begin to do something that you don't like. So deliberate preparation of young people for future leadership is so important. You must think in terms of future readiness. Also ask them, are you digitally connected? Is your community digitally connected? Think about it, because the world is going digital. Don't think your community is still going to be in the 10th century. You must think ahead. Are we economically adaptable? Is your community becoming economically adaptable? The economics are changing, dynamics moving forward. What are you doing? What are you going to do to make sure that you bring innovation? Development is also about preparing for the future. Development is about preparing for the future, not just today, preparing for the future. So what have we said? The real role of community leaders in Nigeria include the following. The real role of community leaders in Nigeria and in your community are as follows. Grassroots, they serve as, they function as grassroots governors. You function as grassroots governors. You function as social stabilizers. Social stabilizer, that means you stabilize your community. You also act as development mobilizers. You mobilize development through the things you do. You also act as conflict mediators. Before conflict will get to the police, the community must do something about it before it gets to the police. And sometimes the police itself, you are the ones to even take the matter to the police, so that collaboratively you deal with the matter. You must also you also work as institutional custodians. That means you are the custodians of the institutions of your community, and then civic coordinators. That is why governance quality matters so much in community development unions, community development association. Now, what community leaders should give attention to? I like to summarize it in this way. What community leaders should give attention to? There are 4 core areas of attention. 7 core areas of attention. Number 1, governance and accountability. Governance and accountability. Strong systems and transparent leadership. Number 2, economic empowerment. We're talking about economic empowerment. We're talking about jobs, skills, enterprise, and opportunity. Number 3, Youth and future leadership. Youth and future leadership. What are we saying there? Talk about mentorship, education, and leadership continuity. Number 4, infrastructure and public needs. Infrastructure and public needs. What are we talking about there? Talking in terms of roads, water, schools, sanitation, connectivity. Number 5, we talk about peace, unity, and social stability. Within peace, unity, and social stability, the issues we are talking about is conflict prevention and community cohesion. That's what you're supposed to work for. Conflict prevention, conflict mediation, and community cohesion. Number 6 thing that is very important is welfare and human support system. Welfare and human support system. What are we talking about here? Take care of the vulnerable members and communal stability. Vulnerable members of the community include the aged, the elderly, the weak, those who are no orphans and all of that. What plans do you have for them? Let them know. Or those who are disabled, what plans do you have for them? What can you provide to support them to live in the community, not as outcasts or neglected? Number 7 thing that community leaders must pay attention to is long-term strategic vision. You must think long-term, planning beyond immediate projects or tenures. Think in terms of 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. Think. Let other people come and say we improve. Let another set of leaders improve, standing on what you have, the foundation we laid, improve. So you don't reinvent the wheel. Not every generation, every leadership set will come and start all over again. So having said that, one important warning I'd like to give you before we close this session is many community unions becomes trapped in endless meetings, ceremonial activities, internal politics, leadership struggles, fundraising without strategy, while the actual development stops or stagnates. This is not good. I said that community development unions become trapped. They become trapped in endless meetings, too many meetings. You have meeting here in Port Harcourt, you have in Lagos, you have in Abuja. What are those meetings producing? What are the outcome? Ceremonial activity, you just do ceremonies. You have meetings, you eat and drink. Is that what development is all about? Internal politics, leadership struggles, raising fund. Every time you do fundraising, end of year fundraising. After raising that fund, what are you going to do with it? What project did you use it to implement? And what long-term impact will those projects have? Now, real development leaders